In the city of Willow Creek, a quaint suburban town nestled between towering mountains and lush forests, lived two inseparable childhood friends, Samantha and Olivia. They had grown up together, lived next door to one another, and their friendship had weathered the storms of life. Samantha, at 29, was a fiercely independent woman with a vibrant personality. She had always been the go-getter, the one who excelled in everything she did. She worked as a marketing executive at a prestigious firm in the heart of Willow Creek. Her sharp wit and ambitious nature made her well respected in her professional life, but those qualities sometimes made her seem distant in her personal life. Olivia, 28, was more introspective and reserved, though no less ambitious. She worked as a freelance photographer, often traveling the country for assignments. Her creative spirit and down-to-earth nature had always been a perfect counterbalance to Samantha's driven and outspoken personality. Olivia was the quiet one in their friendship, but her loyalty to Samantha was unwavering. She was the one who would listen, who would comfort, and who would always have her back. They had spent countless hours in a cozy cafe called the Maple Brew, a charming little place known for its warm ambience and homemade pastries. It was the spot where they shared their hopes, fears, and dreams, where they could escape from the pressures of their busy lives and simply be themselves. But things were about to change. Samantha had recently started dating a man named Mark, a 32-year-old businessman with a kind smile and a charm that made him impossible to resist. They had met at a charity event, and from the moment they crossed paths, there was an undeniable connection. He was everything Samantha had ever wanted in a partner: handsome, successful, and seemingly devoted to her. Mark had swept Samantha off her feet, and for the first time in a long while, she felt a deep sense of contentment. Their relationship seemed perfect, and it wasn't long before Samantha started talking about the future, about marriage, children, and building a life together. Olivia, as always, was supportive, but she couldn't help but feel a growing sense of unease whenever Mark's name came up. Something didn't sit right with her, but she couldn't place her finger on it. One afternoon, Samantha invited Olivia to the Maple Brew to talk about something important. Olivia arrived, noticing a sparkle in Samantha's eyes that hadn't been there before. It was the kind of excitement that only comes when you're in love, when you think you've found someone who makes your heart race. Samantha was glowing. "I think I'm ready to take the next step," Samantha said, her voice filled with anticipation. "Mark and I have been talking about moving in together. We're even thinking about engagement." Olivia smiled warmly, trying to hide her worries. She had always been the voice of reason for Samantha, but now, her friend seemed so certain about everything. "I'm really happy for you, Sam," Olivia said. "You deserve all the happiness in the world." But as she said the words, a small knot of doubt twisted in her stomach. There was something about Mark's perfect image that didn't quite sit right with her. She had never had a chance to really get to know him, and she couldn't shake the feeling that Samantha might be moving too fast. A few weeks later, Olivia received a message from an old friend, someone she hadn't spoken to in years, Riley. Riley had been a part of their close-knit circle in high school, but after some personal issues, she had drifted away. Olivia hesitated before replying, but her curiosity got the best of her. Riley had always been bold, outspoken, and a little unpredictable, which made her both a thrilling and dangerous presence in their group. The message was short but to the point: "I need to talk to you about something important. It's about Mark." Olivia's heart raced when she saw the message. What could Riley possibly know about Mark? Her mind raced, turning over every detail, every conversation she had overheard, and the odd glances Mark sometimes exchanged with people who weren't her friends. But she pushed those thoughts aside. After all, it had to be a misunderstanding, right? She agreed to meet Riley the following day at a small diner outside of town. It was quiet, secluded, and perfect for a conversation that could shake her world. Olivia had no idea what to expect, but as she walked into the diner, she spotted Riley sitting at a corner booth. Riley looked different, more mature, but with that same rebellious edge in her eyes. She waved Olivia over, her expression serious. "I'm not here to stir trouble, oh. But you need to know what I found out about Mark." Olivia slid into the booth, her stomach churning. "What is it? What do you know?" Riley took a deep breath and leaned forward. "Mark isn't who he says he is. I know because I saw him with another woman, and it wasn't just a casual thing. I don't know the details, but I know he's been seeing her for months. He's been hiding it. Olivia sat back, stunned. The words didn't sink in at first. It couldn't be true. Mark, the man Samantha had planned a future with, the man she had trusted with her heart, couldn't be deceiving her. Not like this. I know it's hard to believe, Riley continued, her voice softening, but I think you need to talk to him. Before it's too late. The words hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. Olivia was torn. Part of her wanted to confront Mark immediately, but another part feared what she might uncover. She looked at Riley, seeing the urgency in her eyes. I'll talk to him, Olivia said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. But if this is true, I'll have to tell Sam. She deserves to know the truth. Riley nodded, her face serious. I know. I just wanted you to know, in case it all comes crashing down. The following day, Olivia found herself in a storm of confusion and doubt. She couldn't shake the image of Mark with another woman, the weight of Riley's words pressing on her chest. As the hours passed, she couldn't bring herself to tell Samantha, even though she knew she had to. It was her duty as a friend to protect her, to help her avoid the heartbreak that seemed inevitable. That evening, Olivia decided it was time to confront Mark. They had been living together for over 2 years, their relationship once built on trust, companionship, and shared dreams. But now, doubt clouded everything. As she stepped into the apartment, Mark was sitting on the couch, engrossed in his phone, the soft glow illuminating his face. He looked up at her, a smile forming on his lips. But Olivia wasn't smiling. Mark, we need to talk, she said, her voice calm but firm. His expression shifted, a slight tension appearing in his posture. What's going on, Olivia? You look serious. I'm serious, she replied, crossing her arms. I know about her. Mark's face paled for a second, his smile faltering, but then he quickly recovered. What are you talking about? The woman, Olivia pressed, the one you've been seeing behind my back. Riley told me everything. The silence that followed was thick, and Mark's eyes flickered, revealing a mix of guilt and panic. He stood up, running a hand through his hair. I didn't mean for it to happen like this, he muttered, his voice strained. I never wanted to hurt you, Olivia. The admission hit her like a punch to the stomach. Olivia could hardly breathe, the room spinning around her as she processed his words. This was real. It wasn't a mistake, or a misunderstanding. Mark had been seeing someone else. And the betrayal cut deeper than she ever thought possible. So, what now? She asked, trying to steady her voice. Do you expect me to just forgive you? No, he said quickly, his eyes pleading. I don't expect forgiveness. I didn't know how to end things with you, and I got caught up in something I shouldn't have. But it wasn't serious, Olivia. You and we were good together. Her hands trembled at her sides. Good. Mark, you lied to me. You deceived me. And now you're telling me it wasn't serious? She took a step back, her chest tightening as the reality of the situation settled in. I can't do this anymore. Mark's face hardened, a flicker of anger crossing his features. You're really just going to walk away from this? After everything we've been through? Olivia didn't answer him. She just turned and walked out of the apartment, the door slamming shut behind her, leaving Mark standing in the silence of his own mistakes. She didn't know where she was going, just that she had to get out. She drove aimlessly for hours, her mind a whirlwind of confusion and heartbreak. It wasn't until she found herself parked outside the cafe where she and Samantha had met just a few months earlier that she realized what she needed to do next. Samantha deserved the truth. No matter how painful it might be. The sound of the cafe's door chime greeted Olivia as she stepped inside, the warm aroma of fresh coffee wrapping around her like a blanket. The familiar hum of quiet conversations and clinking cups filled the air, but it was the sight of Samantha sitting at their usual table that caught Olivia's attention. Samantha looked up from her phone and smiled when she saw Olivia. But her smile faded when she noticed the expression on Olivia's face. Olivia, are you okay? Samantha asked, her voice filled with concern. Olivia's eyes welled up, her throat tightening as she tried to find the words. She couldn't pretend anymore. Not with Samantha. Not with herself. I don't know, Olivia whispered, taking a seat across from her friend. I found out something today. Something I never imagined could happen. Samantha's gaze softened as she reached out, taking Olivia's hand in hers. What happened? With a shaky breath, Olivia began to explain. She told Samantha everything: Mark's infidelity, how she had discovered it, how he had tried to justify it with words that only made the betrayal sting more. And as she spoke, the weight of it all seemed to lift off her shoulders. Talking to Samantha, someone she trusted completely, made the pain bearable for the first time all day. Olivia, I'm so sorry, Samantha said after a long pause. Her voice was steady, but there was a rawness in her tone. You didn't deserve this. None of it. Olivia wiped her tears, shaking her head. I never saw it coming. We were supposed to be happy, you know? We built a life together. And now, it's all falling apart. Samantha squeezed her hand tighter, a fire of determination igniting in her eyes. You'll get through this. You're stronger than you think. And you're not alone. There was a long silence between them, both of them absorbing the weight of Olivia's revelation. But despite the heartbreak and betrayal, Olivia felt something shifting inside her, something that felt like hope. She wasn't going to let Mark's actions define her. She wasn't going to let this define her. Thank you, Olivia whispered, finally finding the courage to look Samantha in the eyes. I don't know what I would do without you. Samantha smiled softly. That's what friends are for, Liv. For the first time in what felt like forever, Olivia felt a sense of calm wash over her. She had always been the one to hold things together, the one who took care of everyone else. But now, for the first time in years, she was allowing herself to lean on someone else. And in that moment, she knew that things would get better. She didn't know when or how, but she believed it. She believed in herself. And she believed in the bond she shared with Samantha. It was time for Olivia to take control of her life again, to rebuild it from the ashes of betrayal. And with Samantha by her side, she knew she could. The next few days passed in a blur for Olivia. She spent long hours at work, trying to focus on her tasks while her mind repeatedly returned to the conversation she'd had with Samantha. The comfort her friend had offered was invaluable, but the reality of her broken marriage was impossible to ignore. The apartment she had once shared with Mark now felt like a foreign space, and every corner seemed to echo with the memories of their life together. But as Olivia walked through the doors of the small but cozy apartment she now found herself in, there was a different kind of peace that settled over her. It wasn't the same as before, where everything felt steady and predictable, but it was hers. It was hers to rebuild, to redefine. She no longer needed the validation of a man who didn't deserve her, nor the facade of a perfect relationship that had crumbled beneath her feet. The sound of her phone buzzing broke her from her thoughts. It was a text from Samantha. How are you holding up? Want to grab lunch tomorrow? Olivia smiled, grateful for her friend's constant support. She quickly typed out a response. I'm doing better. I think I'm finally ready to move forward. Yes, lunch sounds perfect. It was hard to admit, but Olivia was beginning to realize that her life wasn't over, it was just beginning a new chapter. The hurt would take time to heal, and the road ahead would undoubtedly be difficult, but she knew she wasn't alone. Samantha had been her anchor through the storm, and now it was time to take the first steps toward creating a life that was truly her own. As Olivia looked out the window at the skyline of New York, she let herself feel a sense of anticipation. The world was wide open, full of possibility, and for the first time in a long time, she felt ready to face whatever came next. But just as Olivia was starting to think that maybe, just maybe, she was starting to find her footing again, she received another message. This time, it was from Mark. The message was simple, yet it sent a cold chill down her spine. Olivia, can we talk? I've been thinking about everything. I made a huge mistake. Her heart pounded in her chest as she stared at the message. She didn't know whether to respond or to just delete it and move on. But one thing was certain, this was the moment that would define her. She could choose to go back to the familiar, to the life she thought she wanted. Or she could choose herself. With a deep breath, Olivia deleted the message, and with that, she felt a weight lift from her shoulders. She wasn't going back. Not to him. Not to a life built on lies. The future was hers, and this time, she was in control.